done a lot in politics. He has been a member of parliament, won so many times, lost once. In fact, my guest, you can call him the cross-carpeter in chief. He cross-carpets from the red cockerel to the blue elephant, and he progressed in that blue elephant to the higher level of chairman. He's currently not actively an executive of the NPP, but of course, because of his previous roles, he would be in advisory capacity and so many other things. My guest also has a hand in one of the most controversial private newspapers, the Daily Guide newspaper. Now they have Guide Radio and Guide TV. Freddie Blay. You said it's not a nickname, it's your real name.
Of course, it is my real name.
Good.
F.W.A. Blay.
FW, so Freddie
Westmew is not a nickname.
It's a real name.
It's a real name.
Good evening, Chairman. How are you, sir?
I'm fine, thank you, Moro.
How is life treating you?
Well, we can't complain too much.
If you complain, then nobody will mind you, so don't complain.
If nobody minds me, I believe my maker. I'll be at peace with my maker.
But you're looking very good. You're looking very young. I dare say you can run a marathon with me.
No.
On the road,
Other things I can compete with you, but not a marathon. Not a marathon.
How are you? How what have you been up to? Do you have any active position in the campaign now, in the party now?
Well, I don't know what you mean by active. I was among those who were considered to be advisors to
the flag bearer.
The flag bearer. And when you say you are advisor, maybe they've kicked you a little upstairs. Yes, and then, of course, once a politician, always a politician. And therefore, if you find yourself at whatever level, in various ways, you still play your role. You support your party, you beckon those who are trying to relax, continue, in whatever manner you can. You make sure your party is on top.
You left Parliament, what, 12 years ago or 8 years ago?
No, more than that, 2 or 8.
So that's 16 years ago?
16 years, more than that.
Before you left, you were Deputy Speaker.
Yes, I did.
Did you do one term as Deputy Speaker or 2 terms?
I was for 2 terms first Deputy Speaker. And for a term,
which means
second Deputy Speaker.
Which means you actually acted as a Speaker a number of times?
Throughout my parliamentary days.
Watching what's happening in Parliament now, the standoff between the speakership and the leadership, if you were in that chair, how would you have dealt with it?
That's another fair question, I would say. If I was in that chair, I've never been in that chair. That's in the first place.
If the speaker had gone on leave and you were the one sitting. Because as Deputy Speaker, you were almost Speaker, weren't you?
Definitely when you are sitting in the chair, you are the Speaker. For whatever purpose. But if such an issue comes up, if I had my way, I would definitely consult with my Speaker, consult with the leadership, and maybe find the middle of the way. And at best, I would say let's stand this down and let's reconsider it sometime. And indeed, Morris, and I will have the best. I will have said that. Look, left for 2 months. Let's leave it there and continue. Some other time, some other climate.
Let's not muddy the water.
Not at all. I would have done that.
You are a lawyer, which means you are a member of the judiciary. You were also an MP.
Well, I won't call myself member of the judiciary, the bar.
Okay, so the judicial service, if I use that, or maybe let me just use the judiciary.
Legal.
Yes, the legal world, which
yes,
means okay. So, which means you are promoting the judicial side of things, but you are also an MP, which means that
I used to be an MP.
So I'm looking at the 2 arms of government now. There are people who think it was a clash between the 2 arms. Do you see it like that?
I don't see it that way at all. There was no clash. Clear. It was an issue of interpretation, and it's spelled out clearly in the Constitution. That it's when it comes to a question of interpretation, it's a domain of the judiciary. Indeed, not just the judiciary. Judiciary, of course, for interpretation of the laws in this country. That's properly their role. But when it comes to specifically their Constitution, exclusive for the Supreme Court. And I believe that's what the 5 justices of the Supreme Court
have done.
Determined. That's right.
And of course, you're an MPP member, so maybe this question I'm going to ask you, I want to see which of the lenses you want to wear in answering them. The House of Parliament, as we have it now, cannot be described as a rubber stamp in the sense of the numbers, because one, you have a speaker who is not from the governing side.
I agree with you.
Good.
That was a hung parliament.
So
ordinarily it should be very interesting.
Yes.
Yes.
But okay, do you think in the future we should, and this is without prejudice to what the MPP campaign is, but I want you to speak as someone who wants to see legislative growth and also government growth. Do you think we would have a better governance where the legislature is not on the side of the government in the current situation that we have, where the head of the legislature is not necessarily from the governing party? Has it served us well? That's actually what I'm trying to say. A verdict on this parliament.
Let me be very honest with you. At first I thought it was interesting to have that arrangement. But what has happened lately had made me reconsider my position. At the end of the day, I thought maybe if you sit on the job, if you sit as a speaker, right, you will definitely be a bit partisan, but you will be very objective. If you are not careful and you are not very objective, you create confusion. And that confusion, it doesn't help the institution itself. And if you are not careful, you drive the institution to clash either with the executive or with the judiciary. And in this case, that's what unfortunately happened. There was at one point, the speaker was describing the judiciary and the executive as sinners. I think it was too harsh. It was uncalled for. I honestly believe it was unnecessary.
Do you think Bagbin was more partisan as a speaker or was more statesmanly as a speaker in his past 4 years?
I don't want to, as it were, subject my very good friend to some kind of analysis and criticism or whatever it is. It's I don't understand what you mean by statesmanly in handling affairs of the. Indeed, in some cases, of course, it did well, but quite a number of cases, seriously so, and unfortunately, he showed the color of his partisanship.
If you had another chance of constituting parliament in the future, and you having no interest in NPP or NDC, being a neutral person,
I'm not neutral.
Would you?
At the moment, as you talk to me, definitely I'm not neutral.
I know. I'm saying that. That's why I say if, and I'm sorry, I'm using the question of probability, where you wanted to advise Ghanaians on which type of parliament we should constitute in the next government. Would you say we should have a parliament that is against the government, or it should be for the government?
What a question. I definitely wouldn't say that you should have a parliament that's against government.
So the government should have majority?
Definitely not overwhelmingly,
okay,
but to some extent comfortable majority. To make sure, you see, this whole idea of separation of powers, as I continue saying, was born out of a concept, a theory of thinking that government is a necessary evil. And therefore, instead of power being concentrated on, let's say, one person, president is not only executive, himself is the
judiciary and the legislature,
and then power is concentrated in him. In those days, then it's only engendered dictatorship. In those days, that was what was happened. And then in those centuries, that's 17th and the 18th century, they came out with this theory of separation of powers. As I said, say government is a necessary evil, and create the powers and share the powers into the various three parts. And in doing so, you protect the freedom of the individual. I think that's a long time ago. Now, it's not an issue of separation. It's now accountability. And accountability is not one rule for only an organ. It's now we create a few other organs. We call them democracy institutions. Auditor General. You create prosecutor.
Office of Special Prosecutor.
Office of the Special Prosecutor. You create
IOCO.
You create other, we call them accountability institutions. And then those ones together. And indeed, the media, the fourth estate, it's a new development. And they take on government and ensure that particularly the strength of the executive is mellowed so that they don't get away with anything that they want to do. That's what it is. But it's not meant just to create friction.
Okay, between the parties.
No, it's not in anybody's interest.
You left Parliament 16 years ago. Do you miss Parliament?
Of course I do. I used to miss it when I first left.
Okay.
You know, when the debate going on and you miss your very good friends that you could hang out with and then converse, if you decide maybe travel along and then go and sit somewhere else and know what is happening. Of course I did miss. And it keeps you on your toes. It's thinking. You read a lot and you know what is happening. Of course I miss that.
Do you think Parliament or the state should protect some MPs in Parliament? What do you think of that?
That's the price of democracy. It's unfortunate, but for democracy, the price of it is that election. Contest. It's not a question of Mukwaya, but contest. If you're okay and you still stand firm on your feet, test it.
But you must not be protected because of the wealth of knowledge you have.
Wealth, it's not a pot that one person. It's not for Kukwanansi to carry it alone. And what about if it breaks? If you fall down and die, what will happen? So let's share it. Let somebody else also have a go at it and see what happens.
Let's talk about the 2024 election now. You, and in my introduction, I mentioned that you left the Red Cockerel to join the MP, and that was many years ago. Many people may not even remember this. But you
yes,
were an
I
MP.
did it 208.
So when you were MP, you were a CPP member of Parliament.
Yes, I was.
You joined MPP, you graduated to become chairman.
No, I didn't cross carpet on the floor.
No, I don't mean you cross carpet. I'm saying you joined the MPP.
Later,
yes,
when I was out of
you
Parliament.
left Parliament.
That's right.
And you rose all the way to becoming chairman of the MPP.
By his grace and by the goodwill of the members of the party, who thought that first I should be the first vice chair, and then I acted. Later one went, and then of course they voted for me.
So how is your party, the MPP, doing?
The MPP is doing well, very well.
Are you
now.
sure? The MP is struggling.
It's not struggling
to remain in office.
No, to remain in. See, incumbency sometimes has its own challenges, I must say. But this time round, I think by virtue of the fact that we have a hard-working man, extremely determined, and the ideas, that very attractive ideas, particularly for the youth, the way he's going about it, the novelty of his campaign, and the way people have all joined him and moving on. I think it's made it a little easier.
In 2008, you had a similar situation. You had all the adjectives you've used. A strong man. He believed in Ghana. That was actually his motto on all his billboards. Akufo-Addo. He was trying to take over from his former boss, John Kufuor, but the party was chased into the bush, according to Arthur Kennedy in that his book.
Nothing is certain. I agree with you, and I wish everything else is that because it happened yesterday like that, today it will happen. What brought you here may not be what will take you away. I agree, we can't be very certain, and we can't be complacent, but in terms of ideas that we are led by the presidential candidate, we are selling to the masses of this country, the people of this country. I think the ideas are attractive. They are believable, create hope for us, brings Ghanaians together, and make this country have a lot of hope for the future. I think we are lucky to have had Dr. Bawumia around this time.
But you cannot and will not rule out incumbency disadvantage. Rawlings's NDC suffered it in 2000. Kufuor suffered it in 2008. The NDC with Mahama in 2016. It's almost like a cyclical thing every 8 years people should change the government. In fact, there are these sayings that politicians are like diapers, change them every now and then. Do you not think that it will be a long shot for you, this you're breaking the 8th campaign?
I will not dismiss the fact that, as I said, we may have challenges. I will not dismiss the fact that it's not easy. I will not dismiss the fact that there are some people who may even get a bit frustrated with what has happened so far for this past 8 years. Some may do so. But there are quite a big chunk of people in this country who appreciate. They've listened to us. They've listened to the explanation given by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, listened to the explanation that Dr. Bawumia had come up. Some even used to call him a liar and all other epithets and so forth. But if you are objective, look at what has happened, COVID, later on the war in Ukraine, and a few other things. You see, we've gone through that. Before then, the economy was moving up. Then later on, COVID made us suffer a bit. We went down. We started moving up again. As I talk to you now, the inflation that almost engulfed us because of structural that we have undergone with the IMF and co, the economy has started picking up again. All our development partners are clear. Even at this time that we are going to have elections, inflation is not engulfing us. We've not defaulted in what we've been doing.
We have defaulted in so many things.
What have we defaulted? Come and tell me what you want to teach me.
Your co-pensioners, their pensions
have
been locked up.
That's exactly what I'm saying. This is a part of the structural adjustment that we had. We have to take those decisions.
Yeah, but the ordinary person,
it's unpleasant.
No, they say you borrowed us into a ditch, and you borrowed and chopped the money, and now we are suffering.
Umar Sanda, that's not the case. Listen, I did indicate that prior to COVID, the economy had moved from 3-4 thereabout. It was going to 7-8 in terms of its growth. Then what happened? So we even based on that.
But COVID left us.
Wait and see. Based on that, we decided to borrow a little for long-term development, make this economy grow big, open it, so that Ghanaians could, on their own, ensure that they are in charge of their own economy instead of some other places that could be controlled by, let's say, economies that are backing them up. Then, unfortunately, it hit us that big. We have embarked on free education. We have embarked on roads that we are building all over the place. We've embarked on various other social intervention. We didn't sink. That's what made us borrow. After having borrowed, we thought we could still contain it. And then, of course, COVID came and we had to give in like many other countries. What happened? Then, now, we've gone for structural adjustment program with the help of IMF, which we all belong to. Having done that, I'm saying that between me and you, now the economy is picking up. As I talk to you now, the GDP growth is about 6.9. If I'm wrong, correct me.
Now, despite
the inflation is going down. It's from 50 something. Now it's about 14.
And
it's going down.
You took it to 50.
I told you under the circumstances that we went. We went through.
Despite the messages from Dr. Bawumia, his personality and all of that, there is a school of thought that if Bawumia loses this election, it is actually Akufo-Addo, your good friend, who has lost the MPP that election.
Why do you say so?
It is on his track record that the party is campaigning, so that your victory or otherwise is dependent on Akufo-Addo's performance over the last.
I've heard some people say so, but again, have you looked at the other side of the coin?
What is the other side?
As I talk to you now today, excuse me, commissioning of various infrastructure projects going all over the country. Doing that, roads, if you go to East Legon, they've gone to do that. Fanko, they've done it. If you go to Pakadam, all over, hospitals, everything else is being done by Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. As I said, me and you, if economies have started moving up, Nana Addo had earlier once said that, look, if the economy is messed up, we can correct it. We can bring it up. People die, we can resurrect them. That's exactly what is happening. Bawumia is building on the record of Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and he's proud of it. For anybody to say that, yes, Nana Addo Dankwa didn't do well, and then Bawumia is not building just by himself. He was part of it, and he has not denied it. No, he was the vice president. Yes, there are quite a number of programs that he had initiated, which are going on, and he's proud that he had that opportunity to work with Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. They are together. Okay. We are all together. Okay. We work together, and we take the blame if there is any. We agree that if there are challenges, we've had it together. But the opportunities are more.
There's something lawyers call prima facie, which is on the face of it. On the face of it, on the December 7, looking at the ballot paper, number 1 would represent the party that moved the exchange rate from 4 cedis to 16 cedis, or now 11 cedis or 12 cedis. Number 8 would represent the party that left it at 4 cedis. Looking at it on the face value, which one should the voter in Elembele settle on? Why should he settle on the one who has raised the number?
The people in Elembele, they spend cities.
And they don't import.
They spend cities.
They don't import.
They don't. It's not a question. But of course, they are also affected. Let's be very realistic.
Then let me change the CD to the price of fuel. A liter of petrol.
Great. Now listen. The price of fuel in the world now, particularly in Africa, it's not the highest in Ghana in terms of dollar rating. Ivory Coast, even they are also in the same leg that we are. They have a lot of fuel now. They are producing almost, if you are not careful, 120 or more. We are producing less than that now. Prices of petrol, I'm talking about.
We are paying a lot for petrol.
We pay for it. If you go to Zambia, they are paying more. Sierra Leone is paying more. Even Nigeria that produces petrol, more, it's one of the, maybe the fifth largest producer of petrol all around. It's also paying more. Here, we are lucky that maybe our gold production and good management of the city, good management of the economy, husbandry of the economy, though it's high, yes, I agree, but it's not completely out of control. And as I told you, inflation, it's all inflation. But inflation from 54 now is coming down. Prices of food and everything else gradually come. I'm not saying they drastically reduce. But
you see, when you say they are coming down, it's like shooting me and bringing me medicine. We were somewhere, you decided to raise it all the way to the 50-something, and you want us to applaud you for fixing your own mess?
No, I've explained to you that we're managing the economy. A lot of things happen. Depends on not just
you said
factors.
You had the men.
Yes, it's the men. That's what we've so far has managed it to this stage. If it was in the hands, if it was in the hands of NDC, you could have had it worse.
Really?
But I'm convinced about that. Excuse me, that's my conviction.
Yes, please, go ahead.
That's right. You see, I was saying that inflation, we were caught up in inflation because of what had happened. Prices of petrol went up, Ukraine and Russia. You can't ignore that.
Are people not tired of this refrain?
But that's a reality. America itself was borrowing. Based on what has happened.
You see many countries
other countries
you have imposed a levy on us to get out of COVID. You've been collecting for everything we buy in this country.
Let me make a point. I'm saying many countries, in particularly in our sub-region, and indeed Africa, they were all buying petrol at a very high cost. Not because they are bad managers, mostly, but even in Ghana, they were better managers. But as I said, these factors would outside our control.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that what is
it is not within the control of Nana Danko Akufo-Addo and Dr. Bawumia.
But Nana Danko Akufo-Addo can impose a levy, which he did, which levy is supposed to cushion us against COVID, and yet 3 years on, we are still talking about COVID.
No, we're talking about COVID, and we're talking about levies.
Yes, which means we are paying for the cost of COVID.
No, we will continue paying for a while, and we continue.
We say we don't want to keep paying.
I know even NDC had come out. When we come, we abolish. What is it? What levy?
When you came,
what did they say? Which levy they did?
The betting tax.
All that levies. They said they would. But you see, the government needs revenue.
Not the government that said to us.
No, the police will.
Not the government that said to us, yet is Castle.
No. But
and that the all the money is here.
Now, when we tell we
the government didn't tell us that they'll come and take it from our pocket and our mobile phones. Right now, if I send you more, they'll collect some. No,
not only that. Umaru Sanda, I am even convinced that this country has a lot of resources. We are indeed a little lucky than most countries are. We have gold in abundance, a little. We have cocoa, we have other things. We have large forest area which we could all harness, but we need to harness. It's not that you go and pick. Even in the Bible, when they say manna when it falls, you walk to it. We need to get ourselves organized. We need to have money to construct the roads, build hospitals, even take care of our human resource in terms of bringing about education for our children, which we've said that Nana Danka said it that it should be free. Some say that they wouldn't like it. We need to spend money to do this thing.
So that's why
when you do that, then you say you spend a little money in terms of collecting a little from levies, and so then you say you shouldn't do that. What monies will you use?
In wrapping up,
what money will you use?
In wrapping up, despite everything, you believe it is possible for you to break the AIDS?
It is possible.
And you see it happening? Or it's just a slogan?
It is possible and it is live. We are praying only, and I'm pleading through your medium that Ghanaians should go and vote, whichever way they want to. But I pray to particularly the youth that they should look at what Nana Danko has done, and of course look at what Bawumia is suffering. Digitization, which will push us all to the 21st century. It's talking about a lot of other platforms. You're talking about many other policies which, if we adhere to, which I trust you well, if we stick to them, which I trust you well, this country will be another place.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us, and we really appreciate you taking time to join us in the studio. But usually I like to ask you my last question.
Go ahead, please.
My last question, the MPP buses you promised, have you brought all of them? The one you promised to the MPP?
As I talk to you now, I'm glad there's one young man who is here with me. He's the one dealing with it. The buses, as I talk to you now, we have a little problem with the bank, and it's packed. At least 100 of them. I was promising 200.
Yes, you promised 200. So how many have you distributed?
We have 100 now.
You brought 100 in Ghana?
100 in Ghana.
But you've not distributed them, have you?
Because we had a little problem with the banks at UMB.
You don't have money in the bank?
No, we had money. We backed it up with $3 million.
So why are they not... Chairman,
I don't want to go into it now.
You became chairman how many years ago?
Oh, but I finished being chairman just last year.
So 5 years ago, you said you bring the people buses. The buses have not come. That's the question.
Well, as I told you, we had problems. Man proposes,
God disposes. But this one, Freddie Blay is always supposed to dispose. Freddie Blay is not disposing. If the 100, bring them, put them on the road.
Unless you think I'm deceiving you.
No, I'm not
100 of the buses. We had a little problem, and the bank, we are also in court with the banks.
Okay.
But God willing, one of these days, tomorrow I'll be here, and you continue asking me.
Give me one of them. When you any clear, give me one. I want to use to do church.
I promise you two.
That's Chairman Freddie Blay, former chairman of the New Patriotic Party, and former member of Parliament for Elembele, joining us tonight on Parliament. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you, Moro.
We really appreciate you.
Thank you for your production team as well.
Thank you so much.
Good.